In Poland, chipboard weight is given in kilograms for the entire board. However, chipboard prices in stores are quoted in zloty per square meter. Therefore, to standardize units, it is best to use the weight description in kilograms per square meter. For this reason, I have created a sample chipboard measuring 1 meter by 1 meter. Next, to weigh such a board, simply generate a cut list with a W weight report type using the Get Dimensions tool. The Get Dimensions tool retrieves the weight unit and calculation method from a global variable which can be set using the Magic Settings tool. This approach allows you to quickly and easily specify the unit of measurement for the weight of any wood you are currently working with. Of course, if your furniture contains different types of wood, generating a report based on a single calculation unit for the wood globally will not be correct. In this case, you can generate multiple reports for different types of wood. However, you can also add a special attribute to a given object. The object should be named woodworking_weight and be of any type that can be converted to a floating point value. In this case, I selected a string type and entered the calculation unit for 1 square meter of a typical 3 mm thick HDF board, which is 2.5 kilograms per square meter. After regenerating the report, you will receive the correct weight for all furniture components. Recently, during a minor renovation, I had the opportunity to move a TV stand I made a long time ago. As it turns out, it weighs about 30 kilograms. Another example of a realistically completed project are kitchen cabinets I had the opportunity to hang about 2 years ago. As it turns out, one such module weighs about 10 kilograms. Of course, the front can be removed, which makes the module weigh slightly less. This may seem very little, but when hanging cabinets, not everything fits perfectly right away, and such a cabinet often requires a longer hold and sometimes guides it into the small slots in furniture. Hangers with automatic release locks. After a while, such a cabinet can feel much heavier than a TV stand. In the cabinet I would like to build soon, I plan to connect the two upper modules to reduce the drilling and fronts and hinges work. However, as it turns out, such connected modules could be quite heavy. I usually mount the modules on 8mm dowels to prevent them from slipping. However, in practice, such a module usually requires some support because the dowels not always fit perfectly into the holes, requiring a slight shift of the dowels or the side of the cabinet. So standing on a stool with such a heavy module may not be a good idea, as you could strain your back and then suffer from pain for 2 weeks. It is a good idea to weigh such modules and, if necessary, redesign the furniture so as not to place unnecessary strain on yourself. In this case, to reduce the weight of the module, you could use a 3mm HDF back, also detach the front and consider a removable shelf. In this case, it should be much easier to adjust the module to a specific height. Another practical example of the usefulness of measuring weight is a drawer. If you want to build a drawer yourself in a slightly larger cabinet, you may find that even an empty drawer will put quite a strain on the drawer slides. Therefore, it is worth checking the weight of such a drawer beforehand to make sure you will not exceed the maximum load capacity of the slides, which is usually around 40 kilograms. Calculating the costs associated with purchasing chipboards or other types of wood is similar to measuring weight. In this case, you can also simply generate a report using the Get Dimensions tool. However, you must select the B budget, report type, and the unit of calculation for the price will be taken from global variables which can be set using the Magic Settings tool. If a piece of furniture contains materials with different prices, a report based on a single global price variable will obviously be incorrect. However, in this case, you can also generate multiple reports using the Get Dimensions tool, or add a special attribute called Woodworking underline price with the calculation unit for the price. When recalculating the price for all items, the set attribute will take precedence over the global variable. This is the complete wardrobe I would like to build soon. This is a light version with a 3mm HDF back and a smaller module near the window on the right. With this structure composed of modules mounted on dowels, there should not be any issues with the stability and durability of the entire structure, even under heavier loads. However, despite using 3mm HDF, which is much lighter than 18mm chipboard, the entire wardrobe weighs over 300 kilograms, which may require a suitable means of transport if someone wants to order all the boards at once. The cost of the entire wardrobe is about 1,000 zloty, but it is important to remember that this is the cost of the chipboards alone, without cut service and hinges and other accessories. Despite this, it is clear that building such a wardrobe yourself is worthwhile. I will be building the window module first. This will allow me to transport all the boards at once in a standard passenger car. FreeCAD allows you to add material to an object. However, for now, the solution FreeCAD promotes seems more theoretical than suitable for any practical usage regarding measuring weight or cost. The weight of wood depends on many factors. In the case of laminated chipboard, information about density is not always provided, and even the true composition is a trade secret. So you never know the true density of wood products. Typically, stores only provide the weight of the entire board sheet with specific dimensions. In the case of real wood, weight can be influenced not only by the density and type of wood, but also by the degree of drying and the number of voids and knots and other properties. Furthermore, if you find a piece of old chipboard in the basement or a piece of real wood, you probably will not be able to determine its density and therefore its weight. I personally weighed a 342 mm by 860 mm shelf and found it weighed exactly 4 kilograms, which translates to 13.6 kilograms per square meter. The shelf is 18 mm thick and made of laminated chipboard, but it came from an old wardrobe from many years ago, which suggests that chipboards were much heavier in the past. So the density not works here. So it is best to weigh and measure a sample of the wood you are working with. The larger the sample, the greater the accuracy. Of course, you can create reports in other units for weight and price. Simply change the global settings in the Magic Settings tool. For example, you can create a report for a board foot. This form of reporting weight and price seems to be quite popular in the US. I am curious about other units used in other countries. Does what you see every day in stores and sawmills match what Woodworking Workbench currently supports? Let me know in the comments. Perhaps it would be worth adding other methods for calculating weight and price. Thanks for watching.